imagine you would live in this situation right now, okay? And one of those aliens would come up to you, bro. I would tell everyone around me. And we're going to watch the Tyranids first contract. Let's go. Let's see what's happening here. The grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Wait, subtitles. Sorry, I always need my subtitles. My English is bad. Earth chat. We're still blue and not already dark. Brownish.
The Imperium of Man first made contact with a new Xenos species at the planet of Tyran. Imperial explorators, who are Mechanicus tech priests committed to
Tyran,
exploration and exploitation of new planets and regions in the galaxy in the name of the Imperium, discovered a strange phenomena where planets previously recorded as lush and verdant were now barren husks.
Oh, why is it brown?
Not even a single cell of life remained. While this
because everyone
disturbing
died.
fact was immediately reported, the slow-turning cogs of the Imperium's bureaucracy was, as with most things, likely to raise not much more of an interest than the lift of an eyebrow. Stranger and more deadly things are likely occurring at almost any time than a planet simply just becoming a dead rock. Still, as the explorators would continue to report these strange dead worlds, a fleet of Xenos previously unrecorded would be drawing ever closer.
Okay. The fuck is this?
A survey craft returning from studying these destroyed worlds encountered a strange cloud of unidentified objects entering the edge of the system. After taking some damage from strange organic mines in the edge of this cloud, the Imperial ship would manage to survive back to an Imperial base orbiting Tyran Primus with the disturbing reports. Days.
They're like, bro, there's something really, really weird going on, guys. We need to check that up. I'm so glad that we made it back, but there is something in the orbit. We can't go through this anymore.
Later, the Xenos fleet would now descend from the skies down to the surface of Tyran Primus. The main base on Tyran was a heavily fortified bunker system designed to withstand the ferocious storms of the ocean world. Coupled with the fact that its location on the edge of Imperial territory made it a likely target for Xenos attacks. So 4 immense planetary defense lasers were situated on the outpost, along with void shield generators, which are a form of gravitic energy field. It is typically utilized to defend super heavy vehicles and infrastructure. Often you see these used by starships and titans in the Imperium. Void shields displace ranged attacks by distorting space-time around the point of impact. The outpost was then further supported by an array of other weapon systems, including autocannon and las cannon, as well as various heavy bastions and bunkers.
Bro, everything
The defense
optimized.
complement itself was also formidable, with 3 full navy wings and a force of Skitari, as well as finally an entire infantry regiment of Imperial Guard. A standard deployment for any frontier planet that had been deemed the standardized force strong enough to repel most enemy assaults. The alien horrors began.
I like the aliens! They're looking so fun. Imagine you would tame them. And then you're riding them. That would be so strong. Why not? Why not? I'm playing a little bit Avatar with them.
From the skies in an array of colours and strange storm-racked skies. The Imperial ground gunners attempted to engage and prevent any of the invaders from making planetfall. But just as suddenly as they'd begun, this attack from the strange unseen species would withdraw. Is this all they have? What an easy victory, mused the Imperial defenders. This ignorant overconfidence would...
I bet that those kind of aliens that they were sent were just like the weakest from the weakest, so they can see what they have on weapons. So it's easy or not to entering or not, right, chat? Hi.
Soon be tragically misplaced. Major Varnak ordered a fleet of Imperial Navy cruisers to continue to harass the withdrawing Xenos as to make sure of their retreat and assumed broken morale. But upon following this command, the Imperial ships would quickly discover, as they pushed through the spore mine clouds that masked the Xenos fleet, that they would see not a few, not even 100 of the strange bioships, but in fact, thousands. Having suffered minimal, if any, losses from the initial
humanity
planetary
as a problem,
engagement,
Chad.
swarms of Xenos ships would seize upon these easily stunned prey as they rounded on the Imperial ships. The first to be physically shredded was the Emperor's Fist, ripped apart by small invasive organisms spewed forth from a larger alien vessel. As the others were similarly cut to pieces or ripped apart by tendrils, the now absolutely panic-wrought crew and the last surviving ship were able
not
to
so
dispatch a warning to Tyran. While in the process of doing so, gene stealers had been unleashed into the ship's interior, efficiently and brutally slaughtering the entire crew complement in.
Imagine, chat, someone of those would come up to you. We're not talking about playing the game, okay? But imagine you would live in this situation right now, okay? And one of those aliens would come up to you, bro. I would tell everyone around me to be friends with them in this moment, because always be with friends with the person that is winning, and they're winning at this moment.
Minutes. While in the background, other ships were already being absorbed into the fleet's bioreserves.
What? Blech.
The Xenos
Could you even live as a human in their bioresort, like in their kind of thing, or not?
would now return to the orbit of Tyran, and there would be no respite this time, no withdrawal. Many thousands of their mycetic spores rained down to the planet's surface, with the Imperial outpost defences having little success in preventing them from doing so. As the ocean around the outpost began to foam and boil, the Imperial defenders looked on baffled and more than a little concerned. What kind of horror was this attack? Soon enough their answer is returned, as aliens the likes of which had never been seen before sprang from the watery gestation. Imperial Guard would quickly turn to their instinctive training and even were successful in repelling the first waves of attack by these savage alien creatures. No doubt bolstered by the fact that among their number were Guard veterans from the Imperial death world of Katashan, a nightmarish jungle planet. The lower bioforms of the attacking Xenos were little match for most standard Imperial weaponry, and the Gaunts and Gene Stealers would be significantly decimated. Things, though, began to quickly unravel as one of their planetary defense lasers would fall silent. It was literally choked and clogged by a mass of Xenos gargoyles.
That shit. They were thinking they're prepared, but no, they're not. Those aliens were like, that's the easiest planet we ever invaded in our lives.
That had been instructed from the hive mind to force themselves down into its barrel and inner workings. Now the larger bioforms like Carnifexes would begin to appear, ripping through defences and destroying further weapon installations. The Xenos were turning the tables, and it was now only a matter of time before the guardsmen would be horribly dismembered and then consumed.
Well, that's crazy. Imagine really is that one of those things, or it doesn't matter, when they would invade the Earth and you can't even communicate with them. And if what you're saying, the only thing what they are thinking about is eating, and you can't like make a compromise or something, hey, you fucked. You're actually fucked. But they're kind of hot.
The outpost soon is overrun by the alien horrors, and its heavy bastions and bunkers smashed to pieces or enveloped by this highly aggressive Xenos. Only Tyran's command bunker remained, and it was already beginning to buckle and crack under the weight of unrelenting damage being wrought to its exterior by huge aliens smashing their way inside. Major Varnak saw there was no hope. This was the end.
And then the hero appeared.
The few remaining Imperial Guard in Skitarii would fight down to their very flesh and bone before these savage invaders would seethe and flow through the command bunker's corridors. Major Svarnik would pray to his Omnissiah before sending a data codex deep into the lowest levels, specially constructed as a kind of black box for the outpost. This data would be their legacy to the Imperium of Man, its records providing essential information for the Imperium and humanity.
I don't have nightmares, guys. I don't have nightmares. I'm being honest. I don't have nightmares. I am pretty sure because I like things like that. The more disgusting, the more I like it. It's more attractive. I have no idea why, but you're on my Twitch banner. On your Twitch banner? What?
As Kryptman approached the now dead, sterile world, he discovered that it had been ravaged of all life, even its oceans and atmosphere. Searching for the standard Imperial data codex that is secured in such a catastrophic destruction of an Imperial outpost, what he found was more disturbing than he could have imagined. And seeing the videos and accumulated data of the Xenos assault, Kryptman—
Look at them! They're hot! Look at them. I'm on your banner on the main page. Maybe Twitch want to tell you that I am a content creator that maybe you like. What's poppin' Russian? Welcome in. We're watching right now some Warhammer videos here.
Would immediately leave the planet to communicate and convey the severity and imminent danger posed by this new and horrific alien threat. A horror he would subsequently name.
I think that insect spray for mosquitoes are not working here, right? It's not working. Am I right, chat? So if I use my mosquito spray, I will not survive. I guess.
Tyranids. The planet of Tyran would hold the morbid honor of now becoming their official designation. Inquisitor Kryptman attempted to use his astropath on board to project a vision of his discovery to the Imperium's network, only to discover that this was not possible. Something was preventing the astropath from communicating. This, of course, was the psychic disturbance caused by the Hive fleet. So he instead proceeded to the next nearest Imperial planet of Thandros in the hopes of establishing communication, only to discover this world had also been ravaged and was now a sterile dead planet. As is often the case with planets in the Imperium, sometimes entire worlds are lost without anybody even realizing it until years later.
Crazy
Eventually, after successfully establishing communications, he was ordered to proceed to the planet of Macragge, the space...
He's trying to find... Hello, Space Marine, can you help me? We're getting invaded by aliens, like for almost 1,000 years. Where the fuck are you? Imagine the call, chat. Imagine the call.
The homeworld of the Ultramarines. The alien fleet would be designated Behemoth.
Behemoth?
Thanks largely to the information gathered from the Tyran data codex, the Astartes and Imperial forces on Macragge were now able to formulate a plan in its defense. The chapter master Marneus Calgar quickly ordered its already immense, powerful defenses strengthened. In addition to the existing Imperial ships in orbit, more arrived daily, including massive strike cruisers and Ultramarines battle barges. One thing was for sure, the Tyranid threat would have a far more challenging battle to be fought here than at Tyran and Thandros. It would not be until a month later that the Tyranids would finally begin to assault Macragge. Over 1,000 of the Xenos ships had been present entering the system and had now already ravaged the garden world of Prandium.
I swear to God, if you imagine how many of those ships are there, and then there are those huge ships, and then there are like those smaller ships, right? And they're attacking all of you, and there are coming aliens out of them as well. I don't understand. How did humanity survived? Huh?
Former lush paradise, a garden world, a glory to behold, and now a broken wasteland of death.
How the fuck do you defend yourself against those? There are just too many.
Even with Kryptman's warnings, the first-hand accounts of the previously lush planet being turned to dead rock, Calgar was taken aback by the devastation of the Jewel of Ultramar. In Calgar's preparations, he would form 3 massive armies on the surface of Macragge, and as the first spores would begin to fall, the powerful Astartes regiments would begin their stand against the alien horrors. Calgar himself had formed the largest of these 3 armies and would carry out repeated rearguard assaults to wither and crush the Tyranid swarms.
Does the aliens maybe have like bees, like they have like a queen or something like this, and when you are crushing the queen or the king, the aliens are like going away and not going to try to kill you? Or are they just they don't care and just trying to get or consume everything around them? They don't care. Barely manage it. You can, it's just like a force of nature. They just barely manage it. They have a hive mind that spans across all of the biomass.
But the unrelenting weight and force of the Tyranids could not be suppressed, even with the power of the Ultramarines on their home planet. On the planet's surface, Titans stalked the land, obliterating any alien swarms in their path.
What the fuck is
The
this?
ferocity of the Tyranid assault was something never seen before by the Astartes, and some even saw the colossal Titans be dragged.
Imagine, chat. Look how many people, like how many aliens that are. I can imagine that they barely did it. Even in my opinion, when I'm seeing this, I would not even believe that humanity was winning that fight, because what the hell?
Down to the ground before being brutally torn to pieces by the blurred forms of claw and chitin. First Company veteran Ultramarines would lay waste to these foul Xenos horrors, but deep inside their bunkers, holding every piece of ground until it could no longer be held, but slowly retreating inside their fortress. The attacking Tyranids would be relentlessly slaughtered like an ocean of alien bodies, exploding, disintegrating and being vaporized by the unwavering but slowly withdrawing Astartes. As the fighting became ever more brutal and desperate, with much of Calgar's defense forces now slaughtered, one of the final battles would be fought on a location known as Cold Steel Ridge. The previously masterful rearguard army of Calgar here would find their match, as the hive mind had learned and adapted to his battle tactics.
Wait a minute, does he have 2 swords in his hands? No, it's like the body. Wow, I like it. I like the design a lot.
Found the situation, the Tyranids would deploy a
Imagine this one as a pet,
classified by the Imperium as a Swarm Lord. This massive creature was one of the final forms to lead assaults on Tyran and Thandros. Using the power of the hive mind, the Tyranids' previously mindless, animalistic, furious assaults now became viciously focused, even tactical. Over the remaining hours, the Swarm Lord would launch attacks again and again, killing scores of auxiliary troops in the most savage and horrific ways imaginable, no doubt in an attempt to horrify and break the human enemy. Torn apart, flayed, penetrated, dissolved, eaten alive, inside or out, the carnage continued on and on until the powerful Astartes began to appear outmatched by this previously mindless horror. Sensing victory, the Swarm Lord,
imagine you're seeing someone getting eaten in front of you,
along with Tyranid warriors, thrust into the fight and engaged Calgar himself. As the Ultramarines circled to aid the chapter master, Tyranids lying dead sprung to life, evidently feigning death in a suppressed state by the Swarm Lord so as to launch unexpected attacks on the now compromised Ultramarine defenders. Calgar would be torn and savagely injured by this assault, and the remaining forces were forced into retreating to the battle barge Octavius. One of, if not the strongest defences of Macragge was its polar fortresses and massive ground weapons that fired high into orbit, obliterating the Xenos raining down onto the planet. The Tyranids now being highly...
But even with those guns, bro, it's so hard to believe that they got an advantage. You know what I mean?
Be aware of this concentration of firepower, proceeded to rain down thousands more spores in this polar area, and Tyranids would now begin to appear in even greater numbers, and the fortresses were soon seething with alien horrors. With few options available, Calgar had to trust his planet-side Astartes would handle the tidal wave of Xenos now engulfing their bunkers. So Calgar would instead turn his attention to the Hive fleet, determined that if Macragge must fall, no other planet would. Despite the Imperial fleet and the remaining planetary defences engaging the orbiting bioships,
Look at them, chat, how they connecting here. You see that? Like sucking the life out of the planet.
and destroying hundreds of them en masse, many more remained, and wave after wave would assault the ships in space and the surface of the planet. By the time the Tyranids were deploying their 12th wave of attacks, the orbital defences of Macragge were now essentially
There's a gun coming out of his mouth.
The Tyranids would even further intensify their attacks. Calgar would attempt to seize on this by assaulting their ships in orbit. The Tyranids were spread out in their attempts to envelop the planet, and then they would start to now withdraw their bioships, pull the engaging Imperial space vessels away from Macragge so as to be unable to assist the forces on the ground, especially around its polar bunkers and outposts. What the Tyranids could not have foreseen, though, was the arrival of the reinforcing battle fleet Tempestus, catching them now in between two Imperial fleets. But even so, the Tyranid Hive fleet was far from outmatched, and likely both fleets could have been potentially destroyed were it not for the supreme sacrifice of the mammoth Emperor-class battleship Dominus Astra. It would plough straight into the heart of the Hive fleet and sacrifice itself by detonating its warp drives, subsequently creating a warp vortex and dragging itself and the entire Tyranid fleet into total oblivion. Calgar's remaining forces rounded to return to Macragge and save the few, if any, Astartes forces that had managed to hold out in overwhelmed polar fortresses. Contact with the First Company veterans had now long been lost as the Tyranids overran the polar outpost, and Calgar, concerned by this, deployed the 3rd and 7th Companies by drop pod to the polar regions. As the Marines burst from their pod deployments, the scenes that met them were beyond belief. Hundreds of thousands of shredded and compounded Tyranid bodies lay piled as far as could be seen, and huge craters existed where plasma...
When the aliens are like dying, guys, are those other aliens consuming them or not?
Weapons and Titan reactors had gone critical, pocketing the surface of the land. Linking up quickly with any surface survivors, they pushed down into the depths of the outposts, clearing any Xenos they encountered. The 3rd Company, though, on landing was far less successful and came under heavy attack as soon as they made planetfall. Many hundreds of Tyranids sprang from the dark outpost entrances to engage them, but heavy fire from the Marines and Thunderhawk gunships overhead crushed them and drove them back into the darkness of the reinforced.
Okay, like, when those aliens are like low life, okay? And you like killing one of those aliens, and she's like this person or this alien that is injured and is eating none or consuming then this alien that is dead, are they regaining then their strength or getting stronger with that? Or is it not making any kind of difference for this alien that is consuming that one?
Outposts. On entering the darkened corridors of the outpost as the 7th Company had done, the 3rd began to notice how walls and structural elements were dripping with mucus, and it seemed that in many places solid material appeared to be breaking down. They would lay down heavy flame units through the corridors to clear their advances, slowly progressing deeper into the bunkers. As the 3rd Company continued to burn their way into the darkness, every step
they found out that flies can get burned, chat.
crushing alien chitin and acidic blood splashing everywhere, they slowly entered the deepest areas of the bunkered outposts in the polar region. And it was here that they would finally find the last remaining 1st Company veterans. A single circle of Space Marines in Terminator armor laying slumped back to back, having been savagely ended by the Xenos horrors. There were no 1st Company Ultramarines remaining. They had been killed to the last man.
OMG. Unlucky for them. Happens. Life is hard.
After the nightmare that was the battle for their chapter world, they faced the huge task of rebuilding their chapter, notably the veteran First Company, which had been so brutally obliterated. This task would be bequeathed to Chaplain Cassius, who would request to Calgar that the new First Company veterans be drawn from the ranks of those who had survived the tyrannic assault, as only they could understand this threat and the consequences of a tyrannic war. These elite veterans make up the now reformed First Company of the Ultramarines. The battle for Macragge is a bittersweet victory for the Ultramarines, having been successful against such a horrific enemy, but also suffering such devastating losses.
Yeah, I imagine, bro. This is a crazy fight. They can be happy that they even survived. Like, in my opinion, normally humanity needs to be dying at this point.
The names of their fallen brothers are commemorated each year, and their sacrifices remembered throughout the Ultramar system.
Why does humanity always survives, by the way? It doesn't matter where I'm always watching or which game I'm playing. Humanity is always surviving. Can we not just die at one point and playing another species and maybe letting them win for once? Sorry,
and so the Tyranids would not be seen for over 200 years, until without warning in 993 of Millennium 41, a new invasion fleet would appear. Hive Fleet Kraken, which would now engage with simultaneous attacks on planets throughout the system. Eventually, this assault would also be repelled, but the Tyranids would again be detected by Inquisitor Kryptman in 997 of Millennium 41, only 4 years later. Kryptman was able, by burning out Astropass, to discern this new fleet Leviathan's intended course of attack through its targeted system. But despite some initial defensive successes, Kryptman would order the act of exterminatus on the world of Cordelis, the next planet in the Tyranids' path, so as to reduce their ability to increase their biomass. Despite Imperial Navy...
Bro, they were even analyzing their route where they're going to take so they can prepare themselves. Humanity's smart.
objections, Kryptman would succeed in carrying out his exterminatus to the planet and its population with virus bombs. This
Bro, what? Nah, they did not.
Catastrophic level of civilian deaths, and his lies to the Ultramarines would enrage them and other Imperial forces. Worse would be to come, though, when Kryptman would order the single largest self-inflicted atrocity in Imperial history, when he would order a system-wide scorched earth tactic by using exterminatus on every planet within the reach of Hive Fleet Leviathan, so as to effectively starve them of biomatter. He would later, due to these actions, be denounced as a traitor to the Imperium and carta externis by his fellow Inquisitors. But Kryptman still held loyal allies within the Astartes' Death Watch, and the final fate of Hive Fleet Leviathan was far from over. The Tyranids and their ongoing tyrannic wars would change the Imperium forever, but there are many who believe that their invasions of the galaxy have only just begun. Further examination of Imperial records after the tyrannic wars had begun revealed disturbing facts. Facts that suggest the Tyranids had been around for a much longer period of time, and that predatory creatures like the Katashan Devil and Fenrisian Kraken are actually ancient descendants of Tyranid hive fleets, perhaps long since abandoned or forgotten by the Hive. Records of the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition have suggested Tyranid contact as far back as Millennium 35. Bioships of Tyranid configuration were also discovered on an ice planet after Imperial Guard was sent to deal with an orc threat there. Tyranids would burst out attacking the guardsmen sent, but they could not understand how this was possible, as no Tyranid ships were in orbit of the planet. Eventually they realized that as long ago as 7,000 years, a full Tyranid hive ship had crashed into the planet and remained dormant ever since. The prospect of it reanimating and sending out psychic distress calls is something that they could not allow to happen. Eventually, the Imperial forces are able to destroy the hive ship by enabling massive volcanic eruptions which consume and destroy the trapped ship and all its horrific inhabitants. But these events suggested that the Tyranids had been present even earlier than Millennium 45, perhaps anything longer than even 1,000 years prior, and it also penetrated further into Imperial space than was previously thought. The prospect of other deliberately hidden or preemptively placed hive ships was a greatly concerning realization. But it's also possible that these earlier fleets were defeated and repelled by another race like the Eldar. The Tyranids are one of the most severe
I'm
threats
confused,
to
guys.
not just the Imperium, but the entire galaxy. And even though they have wrought terrible destruction through the first fleets that have appeared, a much worse possibility exists, that so far the Tyranid hive fleets are just initial tendrils. They are really scouting parties of a much larger and exponentially more dangerous main fleet, as yet unseen, still travelling through the void toward the Milky Way galaxy.
Let's go, bro. We cannot live through this. Mankind cannot live through this. In a single day, they have covered the surface of this planet with a flood of living blades and fanged mouths. Kill one and then take its place. If they are truly without numbers, then our race is doomed to a violent death before every shred of our civilization is scored away by a force more voracious than the fire of hell. Okay, but I have to say something here at this positioning. I think if you are not so in this game, this video, I need to say I really need to focusing because I don't know those species. So maybe it was better to watch the long video, like this 2-hour video from Warhammer first. So I understand what is going on here, what they are talking about. You know what I mean? Like, the first, like, getting to know what is what kind of species there are, and to understand the environment first, because for someone that is completely new to it, and I am new to it, it is a little bit hard to understand. It's to understand what's going on.